So next week, our partners at NV Rides, Northern Virginia Rides, will be here to tell you more about the program, and also we'll be enrolling people on that day for the program. We can sign you up right then and there. So please share with your friends and neighbors if you know anyone who has challenges with transportation. This will be a very valuable program for them, okay? Our speaker today is Martin Bailey. He's returning to Dar Al-Hijrah. He is a volunteer with AARP who's been with us before. He gave a great presentation on fraud and identity theft last session in the fall. But he's here today to talk about Medicare, which is a big and complicated topic. But I know that he can make it very understandable. It's a lot of detail about who qualifies and how to enroll and what the benefits are and what questions to ask. The thing to remember today when you walk away is you don't have to know or remember every single detail about Medicare. You don't have to become an expert, but think about knowing the right questions to ask when you're in that situation. So I'm going to turn it over to Marty here, and he'll I give his presentation, and then I know be happy to take your questions after as well. So welcome again.
Thank you, Stacy. Is the mic okay? We good to go? Okay, great. Today we're going to go over understanding benefits of Medicare, and what I want you to do is if I talk too fast, stop me. Just say, oh, you're going too fast, okay? If you want something explained again, stop me. Say, go over it. I didn't understand it, okay? Because Medicare is a very rough subject when you start getting into it. And there's a lot of things that people don't understand. And even when you've done Medicare, now I've done Medicare now for about 3 years, and I'm still learning new stuff about Medicare. So what we want to do today, we want to go over the basics. We're going to go over the I'm going to say ABCs of Medicare, and you'll see where the programs are called A, B, C, and D. We're going to go over what they cover, what your responsibilities are as far as what you owe Medicare, how to apply for Medicare, when you do apply, what type of Medicare choices you have. And these will be like your traditional Medicare, your Medicare Advantage, and then we're going to talk about supplemental insurance, where Medicare doesn't cover everything, but the supplemental insurance picks it up, and what you have to do there. And then we're going to give you some resources for you to use later on. The one thing we do have to cover is Medicare fraud. Medicare fraud is extremely dangerous to the people as well as the Medicare system, and it is rampant. Last September, the federal government busted a Medicare fraud ring, and they were making over $2.1 billion in fraud. Okay? So what you want to do is Medicare will not contact you by phone. They will not contact you by email. They will not knock on your door. The first thing you get with Medicare will be a letter. And that will be the same thing for the IRS, Social Security, any of the federal government. They will give you a letter first. The only way Medicare will give you an email or call you up is if you make initial contact with them and let them know that yes, it's okay to email you or it's okay to call you. Okay? Medicare, if they do contact you, Medicare will not threaten you. They will not say we're going to take a Medicare card away or medical insurance away, we're going to deport you, we're going to arrest you. Medicare will not say that. None of the federal government agencies will say that to you. And Medicare, nor the other federal government agencies will not demand any type of payment. One of the things the scammers do is they say, well, because your number is being used for fraudulent events, you owe us money now. Okay? They will not demand any payment over the phone. So if you ever get a phone call like that, hang up and report it to the police. Protect your Medicare card like you would a credit card or your Social Security card or anything that's important. That's where you need to protect your Medicare number. A little history on the national health care. 1912, President Roosevelt, that was one of the things that he campaigned on, to get a national health care program. That obviously didn't work. 1945, President Truman tried to put a health care bill in front of Congress. That again obviously didn't work. Finally, in 1985, President Johnson was able to get Parts A and B, which is your inpatient and outpatient parts of Medicare, passed through. And the picture you have up there is President Johnson issuing President Truman the first Medicare card. 1985, you had Part C come in. That was your Medicare Advantage, and we'll talk about it later on. And then finally in 2003, you had Part D, which is your drug supplements. So that's a little bit of history about Medicare. Today, you have over 60 million people on Medicare, and the budget is over $700 billion. So it's a very, very big program. Okay. Who is eligible for Medicare? One, you have to be 65. People under 65 if you have a disability. A disability is defined by the Social Security Administration as unable to do the work you've done before and unable to do any work even with accommodations. So you basically sit at home, that's it. That's the way Social Security defines a disability. Permanent legal resident. Okay, now I called up Medicare. They told me to call up Social Security. I was on the phone with a lady for about a half hour yesterday about this permanent residence. Okay, permanent residence for the United States means basically a green card. Okay, my question was, if I'm a green card holder and I turn 65, then I just follow the rules that everybody else does, and we'll go over those rules when you turn 65. But if I'm a green card holder and I did not get my green card till I'm 67, what happens? She says, well, you have to pay a penalty. Well, wait a minute. I'm not eligible until I'm 67. Well, you didn't get it when you're 65. I wasn't eligible at 65. So my recommendation is when you turn 65, whether or not you're eligible, apply for Medicare. Medicare will deny you. Save the paperwork. Because then when you do get your green card later than 65, you can show that, and if they want to penalize you, you can at least show on a piece of paper that says, I wasn't eligible at 65. So that's just a recommendation. Whether it will work or not, I don't know. But that's something that frustrated me, that they couldn't give me an answer on that particular thing there. Now, on the green card, before you're eligible, you have to have the green card, and you have to spend at least 5 years in the United States. For Medicare, you have to have what's called 40 working credits, which actually is 10 years. Okay, so you may be eligible, but you may not be able to get the Medicare or reduced premiums and stuff like that. So this is what you have to look at there. This is one of the things, is when you apply for Medicare, make sure that your advocate asks these questions on what you can and cannot do, and if there's going to be penalties. Again, people of any age with end-stage renal disease, which is a kidney disease, and if you have ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. Now remember, Medicare is an individual program. It is not like you have a group insurance type thing, or if you work for an employer, he has employment insurance that covers you and your spouse. It's an individual program. You get it, your spouse gets it. Okay? So it's individual. And obviously your children don't get it because they're not old enough. Is enrollment automatic? This is one of the questions that we get asked. When I turn 65, what happens? Well, if you're already on Social Security, Medicare, Social Security will automatically sign you up. Whether you want it or not, they will sign you up. Okay? If you're not on Social Security and you turn 65, you have to apply. Yes, sir? She has to wait till she's 65. She has to wait till she's 65, yeah. And then you go in, you get, you know, A and B and do everything like that. Yeah, but she has to wait till 65. Now, there's other insurance out there now that she can probably get. They might, yeah. But you have to, again, you have to tell her that, you know, that she's not 65 yet. Yeah, that's the problem there. Okay, and if you're not collecting Social Security, you have to apply. What will you be responsible for? Okay, you're going to be responsible for your premiums. These are your monthly premiums, your deductibles. Now, we say deductible is usually an annual deductible. You pay it one time and you're done with it. When you go to the hospital, you may have to pay that deductible more than once. And these are the questions that you have to ask if you go to the hospital. Certain things that I'd like you to write down, and these are what you want to ask your doctor. Okay? You'll pay co-insurance, co-payment. Co-insurance, co-payment, that's your part of the bill. Okay, co-insurance will be a certain percentage of the bill. Co-payment will be a certain payment in amount of money for the bill, and they're set. Okay, give you an idea what some of the deductibles are for Part A, which is your hospitalization. If you have the 40 working credits, you get Part A for free. The premiums are free. If you do not have the 40 working credits, but you're still applying, if you have below 30, it's $400 and some a month. If you have between 30 and 39, it's $252 a month. Your deductible for Part A is $1,400, and again, we'll go over that deductible because that deductible may be charged more than one time. So we want to show you at least the questions you want to ask the people.
Second line,
1408. That's your. I'll explain that to you. Okay, I'll explain that one. It's called a benefit period, and I'll tell you what you're looking for is the questions to ask your doctor for that benefit period. That's the big one there. Then you have your co-payments. After you get done with your deductible, days 0 through 60, your co-payment is 0. Medicare will take care of that. Day 60 through 90, you pay $352 a day. Now, after day 90, and we'll cover this later on, you have to make a decision whether or not you want to use what's called a lifetime reserve and pay $704, or whether you want to pay the whole bill. And that's going to depend on how long your hospitalization is going to be. And like I said, we'll cover that when we get to the Part A of the insurance. Okay, Part B deductible, $144. Most of us pay $144 for our Part B. If you earned a lot of money, that will go up. I had a friend of mine who gave similar lecture like this to him, and I said, you know, most of us are paying $144. But he called me up a couple of weeks later and said, whoa, I'm paying a whole bunch more than that. And I said, okay, Bob, how much do you make a year? Well, that's why you're paying a whole bunch more. Annual deductible, one-time deductible on this one, $198. And then usually your co-payments, your co-insurance is about 20% of the procedure that you had done. And again, we'll go over supplemental insurance, how to pick up that 20%. Part D is your drug. Now, the reason I don't have anything in red as far as a premium, it depends on the drug company that you go with. They're going to decide what your premium is. Average for 2020 is about $42 a month. And like I said, that's just an average. Yours may be more or less. Deductible, $436 or $435, and we'll explain the deductible. And if you're familiar with Medicare, there used to be a donut hole. We'll explain how that donut hole is disappearing. And then for co-payments, again, that's up to the insurance company. Yes, sir. Yeah. I know my wife's a dietitian, and she will get stacks of cards for the pharmacy. And the trick is, do I use my Medicare or do I use the card? That's what you have to decide what you want to do. A lot of pharmacies will not take the card if you're on Medicare. Some pharmacies will. So again, you know, it's really up to you. If you can save money, go for it. Okay, what Medicare does not cover. Okay, basically I tell people, okay, Medicare does not want us to see, they don't want us to eat, and they don't want us to hear. Okay, on vision, Medicare will only cover your vision for glaucoma, cataracts, and if you're diabetic, they'll have the annual physical, but only with a state-qualified doctor. So you have to find an eye doctor who's state-qualified to give you a diabetic eye exam. That's the only three things that Medicare will cover. They'll cover eyes if the eye doctor says it's a medical condition and not an eye condition. Okay, so you'll have that there. If you do dental, dental's the same thing basically. They do not cover dental, so any fillings, extractions, anything like that, they do not cover. They will cover it if it is a medical expense. Again, if the dentist says, okay, this is medical, it's not really dental, even though they may be playing with your teeth, you can claim it on Medicare, or the dental will put it in for Medicare. Yes? No. Just the exam. Just the exam. Hearing, they cover nothing on hearing. Foreign travel. On foreign travel, if you're going from the United States to Canada or to Alaska and you go through Canada, they'll cover that. And if you're on the border between Canada and the United States, Mexico and the United States, and the nearest emergency facility is in a foreign country, they'll cover that. Other than that, they do not cover foreign travel. They'll cover if you're on a ship within the continental or the territorial waters or 6 hours away from port, they'll cover that. But if you're further than that, they do not cover that. So foreign travel, you're basically on your own on if you're going to go back. You're not covered. You're not covered. No. No. This is why if you travel, when you do your supplements or when you travel, you might pick up travel's insurance, okay? Or if you're on some supplemental insurances, they may have the travel thing. Like you said, you were with an HMO, they might have something with travel that you might be able to get. But check that before you travel, especially outside of the United States, that you're covered. Long-term care, Medicare picks up some of the bill on that one there, and this is what we'll talk about now. On long-term care, your custodial care, which is your daily activities of daily living. Okay, this is basically getting up, dressing yourself, making breakfast, going to the bathroom. If you need help doing that stuff, Medicare does not cover that. Medicare will cover skilled care, and skilled care is if you have like a physical therapist, a rehabilitation therapist, occupational therapist, dietitian, speech therapist, somebody who has some type of medical background, either a college degree, a certifications, or a license to practice that in that particular field. Medicare will cover that one there. Now, skilled nursing facilities, this is where the rules get a little complex, and this is some of the questions you have to start asking. Okay, to go to a skilled nursing facility, you have to have been in the hospital. Now, being in the hospital, you go to the hospital. When you enter the hospital makes two decisions. Do we admit you for observation, or do we admit you as a patient? Okay? Question one for your doctor. How am I being admitted? Am I being observation, or am I being admitted as a patient? Okay? If you're under observation, I could stay in the hospital 5-6 days under observation, get out, and the doctor says, well, hey, you know, you've got some additional work you have to do to get better. Medicare's not going to pay for that because you were in the hospital under observation. Okay? If you're admitted into the hospital, okay, and you stay in the hospital for a certain length of time, and the doctor says you need rehab, Medicare will pick that up. Okay, so this is why it's very important. Now, there's a law passed in 2017 that the hospital has to tell you within 36 hours whether you're admitted or under observation. What I would recommend, as soon as you go in, or either you or somebody else ask, are you going to be admitted or is it going to be observation? I'd recommend that. Then you want to ask your doctor, how long will I be in the hospital? And the reason why you want to ask them that is in order to get into the nursing home or the care center, you have got to be in the hospital for 3 days. Now, 3 days, they say, if I enter Monday morning, I spend all day Monday there, all day Tuesday there, all day Wednesday, I can leave Wednesday night. No. You have to spend 3 midnights. Okay, so you have to spend Monday midnight, Tuesday midnight, Wednesday midnight, you leave Thursday morning. Okay, so midnight is the thing there. So ask your doctor, how long are you going to be in the hospital? And then ask your doctor, is there any care after I get out of the hospital? Okay, now we were talking about when you hit that 90-day in the hospital, you do the reserve. Okay, another thing you do is what's your hospital benefit? Okay, this is the benefit period. This is when you pay that deductible. So what happens is if I enter the hospital and say I only spend 5 days in the hospital and I get out 60 days, if I do not go back into the hospital in that 60-day period, I start another benefit period, which means if I enter the hospital on, say, day 70, I pay another deductible. So what you want to ask your doctor is, when you get out of the hospital, do I have to go back to the hospital for anything? And if I do, put me in that 60-day period so I don't have to pay another deductible. Okay? Now, if you enter the hospital for something else than you were in there before, as long as you enter that 60-day period, you still don't have to pay the deductible. That's your benefit period there. So it's very important to find out from your doctor, what is it. Now, when you go to the skilled care facility, they're going to find out, they're going to ask you a couple questions. One, how long have you been in the hospital? You have to be there 3 days, and things like that. One of the things they're going to find out, why you were in the hospital. Was it an acute injury or acute illness, or was it something chronic? Okay, if I come down with, say, pneumonia, I go to the hospital and I got to go to a care facility, that's okay because that was acute. I cannot go into a care facility for my arthritis. That's chronic. Okay, so you have to make sure that go into the care facility, it has to be acute, not chronic. And again, double check your hospital status on that one here. Okay, different parts of Medicare. This is when I said, okay, we're going to cover the ABCs of Medicare. Okay, Part A basically looks at that as inpatient care in the hospital. Part B, outpatient care, visiting your doctor's office. Part D is your prescription. And Part C is your Medicare Advantage. We'll go over a little more about Medicare Advantage. They're your HMO or your PPO programs. They're your managed care. Yeah, that's a medical call. Okay, but if you look at what's written down, if it's a chronic condition, they say they won't cover it. Okay, now I've had people that have allergies that, you know, they'll go years without something, then all of a sudden it comes up. Is it acute or is it chronic? That's, you know, unfortunately I cannot make that decision for you. Okay, hospital insurance. Okay, what hospital insurance covers? It covers your in-stay in the hospital. Now remember I just said, okay, like your activities of daily living are not covered. While you're in the hospital, they'll be covered. Okay, so somebody has to help you up and help you do things. That particular activity of daily living will be covered in the hospital. All your nursing will be covered in the hospital. If they run any lab tests, blood tests, x-rays, MRIs, things like that, that's all covered in the hospital. Okay? If you unfortunately have to go to hospice, what you have to do there, you have to terminate all care, and then Medicare will pick it up. Okay? And then the other one is the skilled nursing facility. Again, it has to be, the doctor has to tell you you can go to a skilled nursing facility. Okay? Now, when you go to the hospital, yes, sir? X-rays, MRIs, yeah, that's all supposed to be covered. Now, what you'll find out when you go to the hospital and your doctor visits you, and you go to your explanation of benefits, you know, that paper you get every month, okay? Your doctor is going to be on Part B. Your doctor's not on Part A. Your doctor charges Part B. So you may have to pay additional premium or additional deductible for that part there. So that's something where I go to the hospital, I have my nurses on her, I have my drugs, I have, you know, my doctor isn't on her. No, your doctor's on Part B. I don't know why. But anyway, so the doctor, if you do have a hospital stay, you'll find your doctor's on Part B. That's what they'll charge for. If you, one thing, if you have any questions on the explanation of benefits, there's a doctor on there that you didn't see, and that happened to me because I was at a procedure. I saw my anesthesiologist, talked to her, had a great conversation with her. Then all of a sudden I get the explanation of benefits, and there's 2 anesthesiologists on there. So I called the hospital up and said, hey, whoa, what's this? They always have an extra one there just in case of emergency. All right. But the provider should explain to you why or what's on that bill if you don't understand it. They should have no problem telling that to you. Okay, that's your hospital care. Your costs, again, typically there's no premium for Part A unless you do not have the 40 working credits. And if you remember, we went over what premiums you may have to be paying, $400 some or $200 some, depending on how many working credits you have. Okay, deductible, the $1,400. Again, go in the hospital, you pay your deductible up front. Once the deductible is paid, Medicare takes care of everything. That applied more than once, again, the 60-day. Okay, so what you have to look at there is the 68, your 60-day in the stay. Now, to give you an idea what your co-payments are, days 0 through 60, 0 copay. Days 61 through 90, $352. Now, on the 90th day, if for some reason you have a long hospital stay, on the 90th day, you have to make a decision, do I want to start using my lifetime reserve, or do I want to pay the entire bill? You only have 60 days in that lifetime reserve, and it's never replaced again. So once you start using that lifetime reserve, say you use 5 days of it for this hospital stay, next hospital stay you only have 55 days left of that lifetime reserve. You have to be careful, yeah. Yeah, lifetime reserve. Okay, that's just the name that they have for 60 extra days of hospital care. Okay, when I go past 90 days, on the 91st day, I either pay the full bill or I pay $700 but take some of my lifetime reserve out. Okay, now I only have 60 days for lifetime reserve. That's why after 150, you now pay the whole bill. Okay, so that's lifetime reserve. Now you don't have to use the lifetime reserve all at one time. You can use it, you know, spacemeal throughout your life. And again, after 150 days, it's all cost. You know, one of the things you'll find out on the handouts, which is great, is you'll see the websites that you can go to and ask the questions there. The Medicare.gov, that's obviously the government website for Medicare. That's a good one to go to there. Medical insurance. Okay, this is your Part B. This is where your doctors show up. Doctor visits, you go to the doctor's office, you get a certain amount of Medicare coverage there. Outpatient hospital services. The doctor says, okay, you need an x-ray, you need an MRI, you need some other type of procedure that usually is done in the hospital, but people do it outside the hospital. Medicare will take care of that also. Durable medical equipment. If somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I can offer you a wheelchair because Medicare is going out of business, and this is the wheelchair, do not take it. Okay? Any type of equipment, medical equipment, has to be recommended or prescribed by your doctor, by your caring physician. If you remember that fraud I just talked about, that $2 billion fraud, that was for testing, and it's a DNA type test. I go in, I swab your mouth, send it to a lab, and they come back and they give you a whole bunch of stuff on DNA and characteristics, okay? That particular test costs between $9,000 and $11,000, okay? There were 36 people were arrested on that scam. 9 of them were medical doctors. 9 of them were physicians, okay? And what happened was they signed off on the test, that you could take the test. That's not my doctor. Your doctor has to sign off that the test is needed or you need medical equipment. Okay, so it has to be your doctor, not some doctor, you know, on a street corner type thing. And there are certain preventative services. If you go through your one little booklet you have in your package here, may have some preventative services in. Also, on Medicare website will have the different preventative services. Stop smoking, obesity, things like that. They'll help you with those type of things there. Most of them are free or a very, very small charge on those. Okay, Part B costs. Premium, $144. Again, if you make more money, and I think I got a chart on there showing if you make a whole bunch of money, how much you have to pay. Premiums go up with higher incomes. Annual deductible, one-time deductible, $198. Co-insurance for the most part is 20%. So if you figure you have a procedure that's going to cost $100, Medicare should take care of $80. You're stuck for the other $20, and we'll talk about the supplemental insurance on that one there. Now, the lifetime penalty on that. This is what frustrated me about the green card and when you can sign up and everything like that. If I do not sign up for Part B when I am eligible, I get a lifetime penalty. And the lifetime penalty is 10% of the premium. So in this case here, this year's premium is $144. If I miss 2 years, and I sign up this year, but I miss 2 years, you would tack on another $128 to that. Now that goes on for your entire life. So every year you get the premium comes out, tack on another 20%. And remember, that's a monthly payment. So that will go on for your life. So it's very important that you sign up when you're eligible. And this is why I'm saying if you're not eligible, you turn 65, go ahead, sign up anyway, and see what happens. And you know, whether or not that will work, I have no idea. That thing down at the bottom, Venus, that is a bill that's in front of, let's see, it passed the House, it's in front of the Senate right now, and this is where your drugs are involved. And in fact, if you go into your package, you'll see something like this here. This gives you an idea of the drug gouging that the pharmacies do, or the drug companies do, how they increase the cost of drugs. And if you'd like to, there's a petition here, and what we'll do is we'll pick this up at the end of the session if you want to sign it. And we turn it into our congressman down in Virginia, or down in Richmond, and they take it up to the United States Senate. And they give it to the congressional people up there, saying, hey, basically, get out of bed with the pharmaceutical companies. These guys are paying too much. Again, if you want to sign that, it would be greatly appreciated. Last year, we had, the state of Virginia alone had over 50,000 of those petitions go up to Congress. And one of the things, if you notice, a lot of us wear red. This is the AARP color. A lot of our advocates, when they go up to either the state or the Senate or the National Congress, will wear red. And we've been told that's one thing that they don't like to see is this flood of red shirts coming at them, because we are apolitical. We're not Republican. We're not Democrat. We want this for our people over 50. We don't care what they are. You're over 50, we want this for them. So this is one of the things that congressmen don't like us, because they're not able to sway us one way or the other. All right, this is that little chart I talked about. If I'm paying $491, which is the bottom number there, that means I make more than $500,000 a year. Okay, I'll pay that. I don't mind. But anyway, this is the thing I gave you. And like I said, most people pay that $144 a month as far as the premiums. Okay, Part D, drug prescriptions. You have to choose your drug company. And again, I'll show you later on different ways to do that, or different resources you can go to. All the drug companies have been approved by Medicare, and they're basically private insurance companies. Now, every year you will get 2 pieces of paper from them that are very important. You'll get the annual notice of changes, and this is going to be, okay, how much your premium is going to raise up or go down, what's your deductible is going to be, are we adding any drugstores, taking away any drugstores, what is the really admin type thing on the functionality of the drug insurance. The second one is a formularity. Okay? This is a little pamphlet you'll get, and it's abridged. It's a short edition, and what it shows is the drugs that they cover. What you want to do is you want to go through and see if your drug is there. If your drug isn't there, call them up or go online to find out if they're covering your drug. And if they are, then you can get the prices and stuff like that to compare, but at least you know they're covering it. If they're not covering your drug, now you know you have to go to another insurance company. Now, one of the things they're doing for 2020 is called indication. So the drugs are now indication based. And what that means, if I have a drug that, say, covers 4 things, chronic headaches, let's see, they had migraines, spasticity in lower and upper arm, something to do with kidney function, and bladder function. That one drug covered all 4 things, okay? Say you have chronic migraines, and I, as your doctor, was giving you that drug for your chronic migraines. Then all of a sudden, the drug company says, no, we'll provide that drug, but we're taking away the chronic migraine. Same drug, but I cannot use it for chronic migraine now. So that means you have to look, and you have to go back to your doctor and tell your doctor, say, okay, they've taken away my drug, prescribe me another drug. It's for my chronic migraine. So this is something you have to look at there, that indication. So make sure if your drug's not listed for your issue, make sure you contact your drug company and find out what's going on and if you have to get another drug. Okay, Part D, cost monthly premiums. Like I said, about $42 was the average. The annual standard deductible is $435. Your co-payments is going to be based on the insurance company that you go with. Now, it used to be a donut hole, and the old donut hole would be, I pay so much for my drugs now, and then once I get past that deductible, I pay a certain percentage, which is usually about 25 or 30%, to a certain dollar amount. And once I hit that dollar amount, I'll pay 100% of the drug, 30 or 85% of the drug. I pay some tremendous amount for a while until I hit another thing. Throws me into what's called catastrophic, and then I pay like about 5% of the drug. Okay, what they've done is they say they're doing away with the whole, and what it looks like now is you pay that $435 up front. That's for your 100% of the drug, whatever the drug costs. Once you get that $135, you now have to pay 25% of the drug's cost up until $6,350. The reason why you have 2 little different colors there is if they still had the donut hole, it would go up to $4,020 and you'd fall into the donut hole. So you're sort of falling in the donut hole, but it's the same 25%. Once you reach that $6,300, it now drops down to 5% that you have to pay for your copay. Okay, any questions on that one there for the drug one? you know, what happens is if like your drug costs more than $400, you pay the $400, and then you go into the rest of it. Yeah. Okay, Medicare choices, basically two choices. One, traditional Medicare, you pick up Part A and B and D for the drugs. Or you go into your Medicare Advantage, which is called Part C. Your Medicare Advantage are your private insurers. These are your HMOs or your PPOs, basically your managed care. Okay, original Medicare, fee for service, like I said, every time you go to the doctors, you pay a certain fee. Medicare is charged for something. It includes Parts A and B. Go to any provider that accepts Medicare. This is the nice part about Medicare. I can go from here to California to Texas. As long as I find a doctor that accepts Medicare, I can go to that doctor. And also you decide if you want to join the drug program or not. Okay, Medigap coverage. This is a supplemental insurance that covers that 20% we talked about. This is the 20%, or the insurance that will help cover that 20% there. Right now, it's sold by private insurance companies. You'll pay deductibles, co-insurance, co-payments for that one there. It does not work with Medicare Advantage. So if for some reason I'm on traditional Medicare and I've got this real good supplemental policy and I want to go to Medicare Advantage, I cannot take that policy with me. That policy has to be dropped. I have to go with Medicare Advantage. Today, they have 8 standard programs that you can choose from. Okay, these are the programs right there. The 2 that are grayed out have been dropped from the particular program there because the insurance companies were paying your deductible. And the government said, no, the insurance companies cannot pay your deductible. So everything that's in the white are still available to you. G seems to be the most favorable one, or the most popular one. If I am an insurance company and I offer G, and you're an insurance company and you offer G, we offer the same benefits. Our benefits are the same. The thing that will be different is how much you pay for them. Okay? So when you look for, if you want to go to, say, a G plan or an A plan, find out what insurance companies are charging for it, and look at their premiums and deductibles, and go with that one there. And also, sometimes they may have some extra benefits, but most of the time it's just a supplemental insurance. It's all straight. Okay, on your Medicare Plan Finder. Now, this is online here. If you go to Medicare.gov, you can get this particular program. If you are not logged in on it yet, if you're not a member of it yet, recommend that you join it, because it will then save whatever information you put in. You can also explore it without being a member, but the problem is it doesn't save your information. Okay? If you take a lot of drugs, you can put the drugs in there. If you're not a member, next time you log on, your drugs won't be there. If you're a member, the nice thing is you keep that drug list. Okay? Although I only take like 2 drugs, it's still a nice thing to have. You don't have to re-enter it all the time. Anyway, you can use that particular thing to start comparing your different costs, your Plan Ds. Okay, Medicare Finder, again, this is basically what it does. Compares a lot of the programs, compares the costs. It will show you like 3 drug plans all in a row, so you can visualize all 3 of them and see which one's the best for you. Okay, so it gives you an idea for planning purposes on what you need to do. Okay, Medigap, this is the supplemental insurance one. You buy the policy. Again, within 6 months of enrolling for Part B. The reason being, if you do not buy that policy then, you are now eligible, or the insurance companies can sit there and say, okay, now we're going to give you a medical. Do you have any pre-existing conditions? Is there anything else wrong with you? They can go through all that. Okay? If you get it within that time frame, okay, they don't do anything. I just looked at my original policy. The first part of it has, Martin Bailey, my address and stuff like that. The next part of it is a medical history, completely blank. And there's a statement up there, if this is your initial enrollment, do not fill it in. And then the last the last page, just sign it. So the initial enrollment is very important, because this is when they cover any pre-existing conditions. So if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, anything like that, don't worry about it, it's covered. If you go past that enrollment period, now they can sit there and say, okay, fine, you have a pre-existing condition. We want to give you a medical and physical, and we'll let you know whether or not you got to pay a higher premium, or whether we'll even insure you. So that's a very important thing right there. Your advocate, as you get ready to go, make sure they ask things like that there. Now, Medigap does not cover prescription drugs. Your Medicare Advantage, oh, yes, sir. No. No. What you'll have to do, okay, Part B is not a policy. Okay. The supplement, okay. Okay, United Healthcare will not sell you the supplement for traditional Medicare. United Healthcare is a HMO. They cover it. Okay, you'll see the next slide right there. Okay. What the gentleman's talking there is about an HMO program. Okay, it's the alternative to Medicare. Okay, what it does, offered by private companies, so your private companies will sit there and say, we're going to offer you this particular Medicare Advantage program. They will cover Part A, Part B, Part D. They cover those three things right there. They usually cover the supplements where they'll have things that will cover things like that in there too. They also have a whole bunch of other benefits with them. Silver sneakers, you can go to gyms if they have a silver sneaker program. And I think this year they passed something where they just have more and more different benefits for the HMOs and the PPOs. Okay, all parts include A, B, and D are included, and then you have your extra benefits. If you initially sign up for any one of these programs, if I initially sign up for traditional and want to go to Advantage, or if I initially sign up for Advantage and want to go to traditional, be very careful as far as any pre-existing conditions again. Because even though I signed up originally and I'm okay, I want to change my insurance for some reason. All the insurance companies are basically thinking, you want to change it because you got something wrong with you. Okay, so they may want to say, well, you may have a pre-existing condition, we want to look at you first. So before you drop your insurance, make sure you're covered by anybody else if you want to drop your insurance. Okay, how does it work? Okay, most Advantage programs, they have a limited area of where they operate at. Okay, so this is when you're traveling. A lot of people I've given the presentation to, they have an HMO program, they're really happy with it, but it only covers Northern Virginia. So when they visit their son in Oklahoma, they're not covered. Okay, so this is what you have to look for, that travel insurance we were talking about there. Something like that, you may have to look for a supplement there, and that's a different type of supplement. It's not the ABCs and Ds and stuff like that. But you have to look at something like that. What's your area of service you have there? You're also restricted, maybe restricted to your plan's network. So if I'm on a doctor right now I'm really happy with, but he's not in the network, I got a choice. I can either drop him and go to the network plan, or I can use him and pay the full cost because the network's not going to cover him, probably will not cover him. Okay? And the other thing, you may have to pay an additional premium. Okay, again, cost, you may have to pay the premium. You'll pay some deductibles, co-payments. You have to abide by the plan rules, which we just covered. Now, the extra benefits, if you're thinking about an HMO, go to the HMO you're thinking of and look at the extra benefits they give you, because a lot of them have changed their benefits, and they've got a slew of benefits out there now. So a lot of them are extra benefits, but again, that's your HMOs. Okay, how do you compare plans? During September, October timeframe, a lot of us will get a whole bunch of mail from the different insurance companies, so you can lay them all out and decide if you want to do that way there. You can ask a relative or a friend, hey, what program do you have? And that's the program I want. Or you can look and say, okay, which one has the lowest prices? These are possible ways to do it, but not recommended. Your relatives and friends may not have the same insurance you need. Lowest premium may not cover what you need. Use the plan finder is probably the best thing you can do. Go on there and find out the different insurance companies or different supplements that are out there, and you can compare them. You can also call that 1-800 number or go to the Medicare.gov and find out there. The little thing there, that Medicare and You, that will be in the back of the presentation also, with a website where you can get that booklet from if you don't already have it. Do you have the booklet now, since you're on Medicare? The little booklet down there? Do you have that? Okay, but as long as you're getting it, because once you're on Medicare, you should get that every year. Okay, good. And if you're not on Medicare, you can write them and ask them to send it to you. Okay. All right, when do I enroll in Medicare? Again, this is the 65 thing. 3 months before you turn 65, you can start enrolling, and it will start the day of, or the month of your birthday. You can enroll the month of your birthday, and it will start the first day after your birthday. And then you have 3 months after your birthday month. But those 3 months, if you notice, they don't start immediately. They start like 3 months, 5 months, 6 months after your birthday, after you enroll, so you may be not covered for a while. So you have to be real careful when you do that. We recommend 3 months before you turn 65, go start enrolling. Okay, you'll have the Medicare open enrollment period. This is confusing on a lot of people because they're not sure what they can do to this period. What you basically do is you review your medical insurance, your drug coverage, your Medicare Advantage. You review them. Are you happy with them? If you're not happy with them, you're permitted to change A to B to your Medicare Advantage plan. Or I can change from a Medicare Advantage plan to an A and B plan, or your Medicare traditional plan. I can join, drop, swap my D plans, okay? Or I can switch out the Medicare Advantage plans and go from one Advantage plan to another Advantage plan. So you have the ability to do that. When you do that, again, coverage begins January 1st. Again, when you do that, be careful for your pre-existing conditions. Double check before you start changing it. Make sure that they'll cover those pre-existing conditions and when they'll cover it and what you have to do before you change your insurance. Okay, Medicare Advantage, they still have this one January 1st through January 31st. Medicare Advantage, you're allowed to change that particular program there. And then you have the Medicare open enrollment period, which is sort of like the same thing. If I have a Medicare Advantage, I don't like it, I can do another Medicare Advantage. Or I can go back to traditional Medicare. Okay, open enrollment periods, you'll hear these things here. Late enrollment, for some reason I didn't make the enrollment when I was eligible, so I enroll late. You'll be penalized for that, so you will have to pay certain penalties for that one there. And that depends on how late you enrolled. Special enrollment period, this is for people who are retiring. So I've been under insurance for all this way now, so I'm getting ready to retire. I have an 8-month frame that I can start applying for Medicare and start looking what I need for Medicare Part B and things like that. And these are people in transition. Okay, usually people retiring. And then you have a general enrollment period. Again, people didn't, for some reason, they didn't make a special enrollment period or they didn't make their normal enrollment period. They can go there, hit January 1st through March 31st. Again, you may have to pay higher premiums. Okay? For assistance, okay, you have the 1-800 number, that's Medicare.gov. You have your state insurance programs, good. VICAP is an excellent program. You have your Fairfax number down here, the 324-7948. VICAP will come and give you, usually over the phone, information concerning Medicare, Medicare Part D, Medicare Advantage, Medigap, and long-term care. They're county employees. They do it for free. You can also make an appointment with them and go down to their office, and they'll sit you down and go over that stuff with you. Okay, like I said, they do it for free. They're not supposed to sway you one way or the other. They just give you the basic information. These are the different programs that you can apply for. Again, they're not county, they're the Medicare one, but they are free, and it's VICAP. Any questions? Okay, I got a couple more slides. Do me a favor. We've got a participant survey. If you would fill that out and give it to Tara after the presentation. One of the questions we always get is, will Medicare cover the pre-existing conditions? I think we covered pre-existing conditions enough. You know, they will, but there may be some hooks that you have to go through before they cover that. Some more resources, AARP.org. AARP surprisingly has a very good Medicare, Social Security. In fact, they got a lot of good information on that AARP site. And you can go on there without being a member. You can log in, or don't even have to log in. You can just go on there. There's a lot of information you can get without being a member. If you want to be a member, you can join. You do not have to be 50 or 65 to be a member. In fact, I found out that you can be 21 and be a member of AARP. Okay, there's your Medicare book there. There's your PDF and your website to go to, and the Medicare Advantage book there. Any questions at all? Everybody good? All right, thank you very much.